couple of years ago, I strolled down this path and introduced you to a man named Nat Bradford and his wonderful family. They have a farm in South Carolina, Sumter County. Their people have been growing here for over 200 years. Today, Nat and his family are still growing many of those same crops from the same seed. They're doing it the same way. We thought it was well worth revisiting, letting you know what's new with some very old ways of farming. Come on, let me take you where the food comes from. Nat, I think it's been 2 years since we were here last.
Yep, about 2 years.
So, and it's amazing to come back to this little 10-acre plot of paradise in South Carolina. This is your family's land for 200 years. You're still growing some of the same crops that they did from the same seeds. You're still growing it the same way, and you've found a way. A lot of it involves selling to high-end restaurants and chefs who want this quality and this premium and this piece of history, this piece of legacy to put on the plates in their restaurant. But you're always up to something. You're always doing something different. Something tells me things have changed in 2 years. How are you getting more stuff on 10 acres? You were damn spanked when we got here.
We're crunched in on 10 acres, so we've moved across the field. And we got about another 14 acres over there.
So you've increased the size of the farm like 150% since we were here.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And this is all your expertise, your passion, what you care about is preserving heritage, preserving legacy, but also farming the way that you think farming ought to be done.
I think there's so much from the old that has been lost, that needs to be understood, and all of the good from that needs to come forward. But don't forget, there's good stuff going on now.
Sure.
That's gonna even help the old stuff move forward.
Just like you love the old songs, but there's some good new songs too.
Yeah. Sweet corn's one of these crops that's new for us. We didn't have that when you were here last time. It's a second generation corn.
Okay. So where on the developmental chain does this corn fall in? It's not the ancient hard flour corn, but it's not Silver Queen or a modern.
It's the same genetics. It's the same, a lot of the same genetics. But again, they found some of these sweet genes in the genome, and they've just been focusing on selecting and breeding, just like we do with dogs. You know, a Chihuahua and a Great Dane and a Wolf, they're all the same.
And you don't put the dog in the laboratory and carve them up to do that.
Right.
You just find the dogs that you want to make the next dog that you're looking for.
Same thing. That's the way they do the sweet corn.
They did this one right.
That's my favorite way to eat corn.
We're both standing here like typewriters at the moment.
What we're trying to figure out with our farm is we want the good genetics. We want, if we can bring the story, the history, and everything to light. So you're setting the stage for the experience, whoever's going to consume it. You've got to pick it at peak harvest. And for us, the way we've developed our delivery model, we literally, and the vans were loaded up and left today. All that was picked yesterday. Some of it was picked this morning. So it's, it's freshness and peak quality.
Right.
It's not going into deep storage. It's not going through multiple hands in distribution. And that's one of the things that if we can figure out to expand our farm and our model in that direction, then it's gonna be really difficult to compete with us at that scale. The chefs buy our stuff because it tastes great and their customers love it, and it keeps them coming back.
You always deliver, and you're always out here yourself. It's really just been you and your family.
Yeah.
You know, you're out here, and I don't think I've ever pulled into this farm and you weren't out here.
Yeah.
You know, and you're sending me pictures, even last night, taking your late night stroll, looking at the collards as the sun is setting.
Yeah.
You know, do you ever let it alone? Does it ever let you alone?
No, I can honestly say it doesn't ever leave my mind until I'm asleep. But I mean, I love it. It's what I eat, breathe, and sleep, and I've done it since I was a kid. I'm making a living at it now. And when I go on that evening walk, it's not out of stress. Like I need to go, you know, for me, it's my solace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nat, this is a beautiful sight. These are your Bradford collards, and the last time we were here, it was later in the summer, into August. You didn't have any of these.
That's right.
But these are special, and there's a special story behind them, and these are unlike probably any collards almost anybody at home has ever had.
Well, this is our family collard.
Mm-hmm.
These have been seed saved, and when we say seed saved, it doesn't mean you just grow the plants and you save all the seeds. It was meticulously chosen every year, the plants that we were going to save seeds on.
The best plants.
I remember my granddad growing, he would grow 2 long rows. You know, when I say long rows for him, 2 rows, maybe 100, 150 feet long. Well, if the plant was on the ground and growing up like this, he wouldn't save seeds off of them. He only picked the ones that had a straight trunk, made a perfect crown on the top of it. I'm looking, moving forward, I've grown a bunch of them now, and I've seen the variation. You can see you've got bluer ones, and greener ones, and ruffled.
There's some different shades for sure going on here instead of a uniform green.
Well, I think that's what you get with open pollinated landrace.
Now, when you say open pollinated, a lot of people are not going to understand what that means.
Non-hybrid. So we're letting this crop grow up. We're letting all of them grow and mix their seed pollen together, and it's stirring that genetic pot, which gives you the widest range of genetic diversity.
Right. Even within the same crop,
without introducing new genetics.
Right.
So we're not bringing other collards in and crossing them, but we're trying to preserve the genetic range.
So that all of these plants aren't necessarily brothers and sisters, but more like cousins.
Yeah, and it gives them adaptability. If we have a cold summer, that genetic is there to help them survive a cold summer, or a warm winter, or a humid, or a dry, or whatever. The crops that persist and perform and produce seeds for us that survive those conditions have, you know, nature selected them for those conditions. People
don't think they like collards.
Yeah.
Just might not have had the right collards. You've got some key advantages to other collards.
So here's a neat thing that differentiates our collards and a lot of other old heirloom crops from modern day commercial varieties and hybrids. Around the late 1800s, universities, the ag universities used to get, were starting to get involved with breeding programs for shippability. It wasn't about flavor. It was about, could these make it from South Carolina to New York and still be sellable?
Flavor was kind of a luxury.
These have been preserved not for shippability. Typically, these were harvested, brought inside, and cooked.
Right.
The way we're doing it isn't much different. Modern transportation, we're able to harvest these a day or two before, get them to the restaurants, and they're served, you know, almost immediately. They're on the menu.
So you're preserving all those natural sugars, and you've kind of got a little sweet edge already. What's the difference here, Nat? It looks like collards.
It looks like collards, but feel it. It's not thick and leathery.
Oh, man.
Totally different.
Yeah.
You can see.
It's more like a lettuce leaf.
Yeah, and it cooks in a fraction of the time that your normal collards do. What I tell chefs to do is take a bite of the stem, because that's the part most chefs throw out.
No, wait a minute, I'm throwing that away.
No, not with these.
Just bite this stem.
The stem, believe it or not, the stalk.
I think he's pulling my
whole
leg.
plant.
My word.
Isn't that crazy?
It was almost as sweet as that corn.
You would expect you'd be chewing on like splinters and wood fibers.
Wood, yeah.
But that eats like celery.
The Bradford collard was kind of lost to history for a while.
I didn't grow the collards growing up as a kid. I grew our watermelon. So I had the watermelon seeds. And my granddad passed away in 2006. So when we came back to Sumter to get this farm off the ground, I wanted to grow our watermelon, which I had those seeds. I wanted to grow the Bradford okra and the Bradford collards. Those were the three that I knew had been passed down and preserved in our family. I just didn't know where he kept the seeds.
Where were the seeds?
Found them in an old refrigerator in his smokehouse, where he used to smoke hams in one room, and in another room, he had a refrigerator, and in that refrigerator, I actually found some watermelon seeds from 1990 that were in there, a bucket of okra in an old, it was an old lard bucket, metal lard bucket. I've got that bucket inside. I think it says Pure, the brand was Pure Lard, but it was full of okra seeds. And then he had a little jar with about, like that big around, maybe a half pint of a jar, about half full of collard seeds. Like, man, that's it.
There it was.
That's all the collards.
That was the Bradford treasure trove. That was your legacy in
Yeah.
that refrigerator. Let's see what's next.
Sounds good.
I gotta get one more bite of this. How many different things do you have growing on this farm right now? How many different things are in the ground right now?
I didn't count, but a safe bet, probably 12, 15 different things going on right now.
And that's this time of year, and other times of year there will be other things?
Yeah,
there.
one crop will go out, then we'll have something different coming in.
Now, some folks might think we were just in a weed patch, but this looks suspiciously like rye?
This is rye, yeah. This is one of the heirloom crops that we're moving into the
heirloom
grain.
rye.
Yes,
So
heirloom rye.
This is an old rye. How old is it?
This one is the oldest cultivar of rye in the world. It's called Sangasti.
Sangasti.
It's from a town called Sangasti in Estonia. This is what made Russian rye vodka. This is
Really?
the rye.
How long have people been growing this rye?
Well, it goes back to biblical times. People have been growing rye. Now, Sangasti was intentionally selected and improved in that region of Estonia in the 1800s.
Okay.
And it was the first known cultivated selected variety.
Done on purpose.
There's flavor and nuance. There's terroir with these old varieties that don't exist in the modern varieties that have just been bred for high yield or for just biomass to plow back into the soil, add nutrients back to the soil.
Sure.
And the beer industry, the spirits industry, baking industry, when they only have two varieties to pull from, you've really limited. If I just said, hey, make me a masterpiece, here's a blue crayon and a red crayon.
You'd be
You're
limited.
missing the rest of the rainbow. So we're trying to add more Crayolas to their coloring box.
You told me once about a peanut you were working with from University of South Carolina that was very, very special.
Peanuts, they're not native to North America. Peanuts originated in South America, and they've migrated around the world from that point. This, which is called the Carolina African Runner Peanut, started in South America, made its way to Africa, and then it came over with the slave trade. They brought it with them, and when it was planted originally in the late 1600s, it was the first peanut in cultivation in North America.
Oh, wow.
It's the most flavorful peanut I've ever eaten. When I was given the seeds, it was really down to, I think, 12 plants from 12 seeds that germinated, from seeds that were over 50 years old, that were rediscovered in a seed vault. I think in NC State was maintaining or still had them. We grew it for a number of years. The yield and the pest problem was so bad. We didn't put any kind of pesticides on it. We were letting nature thin the herd, so to speak, and find the plants that had the genetic predisposition to survive. We went from about a 10% yield originally up to about a 90% yield over a 7-year period. That's why you save seeds, periodically. If it's not every year, every few years, because your climate changes, disease and pest pressures change, humidity might change, geographic regions change, and those crops, in this case the peanut, was frozen in time 50 or 60 years ago, never was adapted. It took some time to reacquaint it with the 2000s and the new soil types and disease pressures and bugs and everything else to find where that sliver of genetics would allow it to persist. And fortunately, there was that genetic still in there that allowed it to adapt, and we were able to bring that peanut back.
Wow, amazing stories. It's not a very big farm, but there's a lot of stuff on it. Let's keep moving.
A lot of things going
All right,
on.
Let's go.
Yep.
Nat, this is not the first time we've sat on these steps and had a conversation. I hope it won't be the last time.
I hope not.
But I thought it was well worth checking back in. You fill in gaps. You're almost like a librarian archiving rare volumes of books and putting them just to make sure they're there for future generations in some case.
You want to preserve them, but also want to breathe new life into some old varieties, you know? And they were good a long time ago. Some of them have gotten forgotten, and there's a chance to see if they fit. You know, you put them out there. Worst case scenario, we freshened up the seed supply. It goes back in the stockpile for future use.
And that just makes everything stronger, and that gives us more biodiversity.
Right.
And if something went wrong because of a change in climate or a change in pest or a change in diseases, we might have something put up somewhere that would withstand and survive that and let us continue to survive.
That's right. That's right.
Let's run through the kids. Who's where doing what now?
Oh goodness. The oldest, Theron, he's running track at Clemson. He's got his last year coming up. Doing really well. He's loving it. Our next son, Noah, is in his first year in the Air Force. So that's why I'm sporting this cap.
There it is right there.
Yep. He's doing well. He just got stationed at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. So he's settling in up there. Danny, our third, he just graduated from high school and he's going to College of Charleston. He's going to study marine biology. It's the opposite of our land. He's going down into the water. So Aiden, he's going into the 8th grade. So we've got two littles left. Aiden, probably not so little anymore, but he's going into his 8th grade year. He runs cross country and he dreams of running for Clemson someday like his older brother. Natalie, we're still figuring her out. I think it's an open box for her. She's gonna be Natalie, and she's going into the 6th grade. She just finished elementary, and it'll be the first time we've had 2 kids at the same school and only 1 drop off. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, but I'm an optimist for my kids to come back to the farm. 1 or more than 1. So I have to build the farm big enough to allow them room to be able to provide and care for their family. So if I just stay big enough to provide for me, Betty, and my family, there won't be room for them if they wanted to come in.
Right.
So I'm growing the farm, and it'll be here. And if that opportunity arises and they want to come back on, I'll turn that on and
there it'll
we'll get them involved.
I think people don't understand you're probably the real heart of this farm. You're the real spirit of this farm. You're the one everybody looks. Everybody wants to take care of Natalie and look after Natalie because you're the baby of the family, and the baby always gets special treatment like that. But you know, you have some very specific jobs around here. I've seen you picking okra. We were out picking okra earlier, and you came out and watched for a minute, and then we looked up and we didn't see you anymore. So that was a good move. That was impressive. But I hear you're also quite the jokester.
Yes, I am.
You got a favorite joke you want to tell us?
Yes.
Go for it.
What is a lion's favorite part of its meal?
What is a lion's favorite part of its meal?
The main course.
That's a good one. I like that. I like that. There's never been anything else. There's never been a day of your life that you weren't from a farm family. It's not like your dad got a new job one day and came home and said, I'm going to be a farmer now. when you were the littlest girl and were first starting to learn, you already knew?
When I was 3, we did move here.
Because your dad was getting this up and going, but all of these Bradfords before y'all have been farming and farming and farming and farming. So I got one question for you.
Yes.
What do you want to do?
I want to have 3 careers.
Okay, what are those?
One of them is a bit weird, just gonna tell you.
Well, that's okay. Mine's kind of weird too.
I want to be an actress. I also want to be an artist, and I guess in my early years, I want to be a YouTuber.
A YouTuber! There's nothing weird about any of that these days. I think those are all great things to do. And I think you're gonna be able to do whatever you want to do, but I hope you'll always remember this farm.
I'm sure I will, because it's my home.
I bet you'll always remember the way back here too.
Yeah.
Do you ever think that you might one day try a little farming yourself?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay, don't close any doors, right? I think that's the way we all got to approach life. Nat Bradford and his family just kind of dive right in every day. They walk the walk, they live the life. They don't just talk the talk. You see it in their faces, you can see the smiles, you can hear the pride in their voices. Those are our favorite kind of people out here where the food comes from.